We don't care about how many things they release. We don't care about when they release them. We don't care about whatever, or any of those kind of typical metrics that engineers and product people get credit for, because they don't mean anything to the customer.
There is no exact playbook for growth. Interesting, I love that.
I think a lot of times your growth is dictated by the market.
Word of mouth, though important, does not work when you don't have any customers.
I'm Dave, and get ready to scale or die. What's up, Growth Nation? Dave Rogenmoser here, and welcome back to Scale or Die, where we uncover proven strategies from CEOs and CMOs behind some of the world's fastest growing startups. I'm super pumped about the guest here today, and before I introduce him, I want to share a story about my first interaction with them and their company. So it was about 2 years ago. I was selling online courses, slinging them on the internet because that's what I did. And I was running this automated webinar. And so this basically was this video that people would come to, would run Facebook ads, they'd come to it day and night, and then they would go to a sales page and they would look at buying the course for $997. Our sales weren't that good for it. We were thinking, we got to figure out a way to talk to our customers more, but there wasn't a great way to do that. So that's when I found this little tool called Drift. And I put it on the site. And the coolest thing about it was that when somebody would chat on that sales page, it would go right into Slack, and we'd be able to chat them inside Slack, because I'm always hanging out in Slack, but I don't want to wait around all day for the one person who's watching the webinar to come, because it'd be every couple hours or something like that. And what we found is when we would talk to people on Slack that were on the sales page, 90% chance they would buy if I could just get into a conversation with them. And that was a huge shift for us in even how we do marketing. The first time we'd ever kind of started talking to customers and prospects in real time. And that was the product Drift, which is the company behind the guy we've got here today, David Cancel, or DC, as you're known by the homies. And David, CEO of Drift, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. David Cancel, DC, the uncle. You can call me any of those.
People call you uncle?
Oh, yeah, Uncle DC.
And what's the story behind that?
It's because I got all these grays. Look at that.
You are the uncle.
I've been around, so they call me the uncle. Oh, it started because I call, we have a podcast, and I call Dave, my co-host, the nephew. So he's my young nephew.
That's awesome. Well, no, I'm a listener of Seeking Wisdom, your podcast. I've left it 6 stars, and I listen to it when I drive home, and I'm always kind of daydreaming. It's you got DC, DG. You guys need Dave Rogenmoser, DR, on the show.
Yeah, we need DR on the show. You got to come
the 3 days. Oh yeah, we'll have such good chemistry, man. I'm just dreaming of that day someday.
Oh yeah, you got to come up here.
I'll work my way up there. Very cool, man. But yeah, dude, as we get kicked off, dude, just kind of share what is Drift? How do you describe it? Kind of where's the company at today?
Yeah, so we started the company a while ago now. The beginning of 15, end of 14 and 2014. We went into market 2016, and we created this category called conversational marketing. And basically what we realized was the way that companies sell to each other, right, is kind of doesn't make sense anymore, right? The whole idea of a lead form, going to nurturing flow, going to a CRM, going to BDR to qualify it, going to an account executive to then try to sell it. All of this stuff made sense for a world where, and I built lots of software in that world in the past, for a world where the company had all the control. But now we can buy everything on demand. We can buy everything now. And now, the buyer has all the power and is gaining more power. And there's a million alternatives to whatever you sell, whether it's a service or a product. And in that world, we said we need to go back to basics. We need to go back to conversations, and we need to create a way to simplify sales and put the buyer in control. And if we do that, we think we'll deliver better sales results. And that's been the story of Drift so far.
So I want to talk about unconventional ways that you've grown Drift. I've heard you talk about this some, and you've been around the block. You're the uncle. I feel like you've kind of got strong opinions about how startups could be done or should be done, or at the very least, just how you guys want to do it. But maybe what are some unconventional ways that you guys have grown Drift to, 150-ish thousand customers now? Yeah,
over that now. But that's kind of what we say externally. And
cool.
We've grown that big. We are 260 people on the team right now. Grown from 90 at the beginning of this year and 20 the year before that. So we've grown a bunch, and really just helping our customers. But I definitely have a lot of strong opinions, and some of them, when it comes to what we're talking about here about growing, are really around this area that we invested in from the beginning in kind of two different areas. One of them is brand, which we can talk about because I think the importance of brand today is if you're creating anything in the world, it's all about brand today, right? And that's always been a squishy term, and it's been hard to figure out. But we are living in this world through this new time, it's unparalleled, right? Where the buyers have all the control and they have infinite supply of whatever you sell. I don't care if it's software, I don't care if it's hardware, I don't care if it's these glasses right here, or this computer. We live in a time where all of this stuff can be replicated in almost real time. It feels like real time. You can create some software, I can create some software, someone can knock that off around the world, 10 companies can spring up tomorrow, and the buyer on the other side doesn't make a difference between those two. In that world, I believe brand becomes the important thing when software becomes commoditized, and we've entered that era, and I can go on further on that. And there's different plays that you do because of that. And then I'd say the second camp of things that we leaned into that I feel strongly about is focusing on those things that feel like they don't scale, right? Drift, like your experience with Drift early on that you described, feels like when you talk to someone like, oh, wow, that can't scale. That's interesting, but I don't have time for that. I can't scale that. I don't have time to be personal to all these customers. Yeah. And we don't believe that at all. We think those things that look like they don't scale from a marketing standpoint, growth standpoint, are the keys to figuring out, like in your case, the business model and the keys to scaling the business. They are the only things that matter because those are the things that we're willing to pay extra for, that experience, and the only way that you're going to get this insight. And so we had this insight ourselves when we went to market and said, we were telling companies like an enterprise sales company or whatever, they sold super expensive things and saying you should try Drift. And they're like, well, we can't try Drift. What about if we get millions of people to apply to us? And it's you are a B2B website that sells, $250,000 service packages. There's no million people coming to your website. Let's look at your website. You have almost no traffic on this website. And you have a whole room here of salespeople who will tell you that they've never gotten a lead from you, the market. Right? Something is crazy here. So you're worried about this weird flood of people that are never going to come to your website. And these people are never getting any leads. So why don't we do a better job at doing that? That's an example of something that looks like it doesn't scale, but it scales well.
Interesting. I love that. So how do you guys decide what to build? And here's something I've been thinking about, and maybe I'm the only one that thinks about it like this. I think, okay, we can build features that go deeper. It's like our power users, they're already using everything. I can build something else that they're going to use. Or I can go wide, and I can get some new users. I can build the integration that allows a new subset of people to come on. I can do that. I tend to default to going wide, but I kind of think that's the wrong thing to do, actually. But how do you think about that?
Yeah, we look at it differently every year. So, I'll zoom it out on a year basis. So the first year for us in market was about how do we get to product market fit, right? And so we already know there's a PMF score, you can use that. Mm-hmm. So it was really about building enough product or just having just enough to get us to that PMF score, right? For our general audience. And then last year our second year was about how do we, from a product standpoint, how do we make some bets? And we started making different bets on a monthly basis. We call them these marketable moments. We would launch a new product every month. Which was crazy. But what we were doing there was we were trying to find out the size and of the category that we were trying to create beyond our products. So this idea of conversational marketing, what were the edges of this category? Mm-hmm. So we were ahead of the market in that case. And so we were starting to, and lots of unknowns. And so we were testing with different product features out there. Obviously, we split into multiple teams, and we have a philosophy, and each one of those products has an entire team, 3-person team building it. And so the core product is still getting invested in, still has a team assigned to it. We're not distracting those people to go build this other stuff, right? That's kind of the cost in doing this thing. And then, so that was our motion for last year. We're ending this year and saying okay, we have an idea of now what the category looks like. We've heard from enough customers. And now this next year, 2019, is about having what we would consider more traditional roadmap is too heavy of a word, but like theme, right? We have a theme for how we want conversational marketing and our place in it to evolve over the next year. We've tested a lot. We have a lot of customer data. We have a lot of stuff. So now we feel good about being able to make some predictions that are more have a narrative structure to them, right? On how we're unveiling this stuff. But that was all based on all the customer feedback and all work and kind of successes and failures that we had from all those experiments in this year. So I really think about it on a year basis and what are the themes, and that will dictate how I decide what I want to build next.
Yep, love that. Let's talk about customer obsession, being customer centric. We try to be very customer centric. One of our core value, our number one core value, is to be customer obsessed, and we try to do a whole lot around that. You guys are doing amazing things there. Talk to me about that. You're kind of Mr. Customer Product guy in my mind. How do you guys do that? How do you get that through the whole company? Like, what does that even look like at Drift?
Yeah, I'd say I'm psyched to hear that. So same religion. It's religious for me. It has been since 2009. So a long time now. And so almost 10 years now. I've been kind of beating the drum on this customer-driven obsession and this kind of framework. It started by accident because it started at my company Performable, where we forced everyone to do customer support, including all the engineers. And then kind of had a discovery that which all makes sense now, that when the engineers and the product people were closer to the customer and they worked with those customers every day and they heard their pain, the more likely they were to create solutions for the customer, right? Like, because they were hearing it firsthand versus hearing it from you or me or someone or a third part or, 3 levels away from the customer. And so we wanted to move all decision making kind of be more real time and be close to the customer. So we kind of stumbled upon that. It's all obvious now, but most people don't do it. And so we stumbled upon that. And then at HubSpot, I tested, like, can that actually work at scale? That's fine. That works for like a 20-person company. Like, could that work for hundreds, thousands of people? And we kind of proved out the model there. And then at Drift, we've taken it even further, and we've built the entire company around this idea of, like, look, we're only here to serve customers, right? And so the only purpose of business is to service customers. That's it, as Peter Drucker would say. And so we're built around the idea of being in service to customers. That's core to everything. It's core to how we hire people. We talk about that in the hiring process. We only select for people that are okay with that servant type of mentality, which sounds easy, but it's not, right? It's hard to put away our egos and to focus on that. So we screen for that. So now, like, 250 people here are all that type of person. And then what we do is we try to design all of our KPIs that we measure all the functional teams on, all functional orgs and the teams, to be around customer metrics, to not be around, company metrics only or internal feel-good metrics or whatever. So we're kind of pretty religious on that. So, like, product is the easiest one to zoom in on because product is usually the most distant, and engineering from customers. And so there, we don't care about how many things they release. We don't care about when they release them. We don't care about whatever, or any of those kind of typical metrics that engineers and product people get credit for, because they don't mean anything to the customer. Doesn't mean that, we shipped N number of things means nothing to the customer. What matters is, we measure each of our product teams on a lot of metrics, but there's 3 fundamental metrics that we look at. ICP, again, that's ideal customer profile, usage of that product, ideal customer profile, revenue from that product. And, the products, obviously, if you're buying a bundled thing, the revenue is not just for that product, but we look at other ICP customers who use that product, how much revenue is attributed to that cohort of customers. Then we look at ICP churn for that product, right? Those are key 3 things. Every team gets measured that way. And then we look at other indicators, like obviously response time and issues from a ticket standpoint and all these other things that we believe are proxies for a good customer satisfaction with the product. And that's what they get credit for. They don't get looked at any other way because they shipped some cool thing. I don't care. Like that they fixed a bunch of bugs. I also don't care. That they did some infrastructure work. I also don't care. I care about, have we driven those 3 core metrics for the customer? or some of the secondary metrics, which are experience-based metrics that we think are a good proxy for customer satisfaction. Then we look at a lot of qualitative stuff that we're hearing from sales, from sales services, directly from the customer about that product, about that experience. All of those things we're constantly looking at. And that's how all the teams get judged. We also have guardrails for each of the product teams to make sure that some portion of that product team is having customer interactions every week. And so we're looking at all of these things. And it basically just means, it sounds complicated, but it's actually simple. It just means like, hey, you are what you measure. And so if you allow an engineering team or product team to be measured in non-customer terms, then you shouldn't be surprised when they're not doing things that are not in service of the customer.
Love it. Super helpful, man. All right, last question before we roll into what I call the salty six, which is just 6 rapid fire questions. Just CEO to CEO, what's the best thing you've done to develop yourself in the last year?
I'm obsessed with reading, so I'm always learning. I think the best thing that I've done, for me, it's kind of it's always getting outside the building, and it's in 2 forms. It's customer conversations, number 1. I never have enough of those. And then 2, it's like I don't like actually getting outside the building. So like I have to force myself to have more conversations with people, role models. So, people in the same role, like yourself. So have more of those conversations. That's how we met originally. That was me forcing myself to get out of my comfort zone. And then so I forced myself to have those conversations. Then I'm constantly looking for role models for the next phase. And I'm always changing my role models. So like we're a 250 person company. Like what are the role models for people who have done what we want to do that are 500, 1,000, whatever number of people with different similar motions and stuff. And so I go out and seek those people, make those connections. And then some level of mentors. And then I have coaches as well. So I'm constantly on like, how do I grow? How do I get better? How do I upgrade, the people and services? Upgrading people sounds weird, but, relationships for that next phase.
Love it, man. Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. And appreciate that. You're kind of one of my mentors. And so I appreciate the advice from you even more, man. All right, we got the salty 6, man. This is punchy. It's fast paced. Hang on to your seat, man. So First question, what do you do for fun?
It's a good question because I was talking about it yesterday. I was like, I don't think I know how to
do anything.
What do I do for fun? I have kids. So I hang out with my kids, do all sorts of ridiculous things that they want me to do. And so that's number 1. And then what else do I do for fun? Hike, do water sports like paddleboarding and all that stuff. And so I try to get out in nature. So that's my form of meditation.
Awesome. Love it. What's the best conference you've gone to?
Yeah, that's our Hypergrowth, of course, which is our conference. Now, the best conference, I kind of don't like conferences. And so like in creating our own, I've been trying to like rethink the format. And so for me, it's about like making connections to like whole new pockets of people. And so one conference that I've liked on the product side, which is my favorite product conference, is Mind the Product, which is usually in San Francisco and London. And I think they have done a really good job. Martin runs that. And Martin has done a really good job of putting that together because he brings people that are not the same old speakers. And so I've gotten to connect with some people that have really pushed me on the product side of things. So I like that conference a lot. And then I've done smaller conferences that are kind of like more experiences, like with other CEOs and things like that. One of them was Basecamp, which Sequoia, one of our investors, puts on. That was by far my favorite conference, but that's kind of a weird one because it's like invite only. And so get on that one. That one was redunculous. So those 2.
All right. Very cool. Love it. What podcast do you listen to, if any?
Bunch of our own. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to Finding Mastery, which is, I just discovered a few months ago now. And I'm like, wait a second, this is like a better, more detailed version of Seeking Wisdom in a different way, right? And the title is almost the same thing, like Finding Mastery. Like what? And ours is Seeking Wisdom. So I like that one a lot. Highly recommend that one. And then what else do I like? I flip through lots of different ones. Like the industry ones kind of get to me after a while. A16Z, I come back to a lot. I think I like that podcast a lot. And then there's a whole bunch of smaller ones that I just ping pong around, but I'm usually subscribed to, 25 podcasts right now.
Sweet. Love it. What books are you reading what book are you reading right now? What's on your nightstand?
I read, so my thing is I read multiple books in parallel. And so right now I'm reading a book called Make Time, which is recommend. I'm halfway through it or more right now. And it's by it's about part of being effective, right? They actually say it's not about productivity, about being effective. And it's by, I've been following this blog for a while. So they wrote a book called Sprint, which is around design sprints. It's two ex-Google guys. That was a good book. Then they've had a blog for a long time that I've been a subscriber of, which is called Time Dorks. It's all about effectiveness. And they wrote this book, just came out recently, Make Time. Good book. Recommend that one. And then I'm reading Blitzscaling, which is Reid Hoffman book. Good book. And I'm probably reading like 3 other books right now, which I'm forgetting.
I love it. All right, this one's serious. Michael Jordan or LeBron?
Ooh, MJ. Classics all the way. I was going to look. I don't have the MJs on right now. I don't have the Jordans. I have the Air Force Ones on.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, he's the man. All right, and the last question, who's one person you'd like to invite to a dinner party right now, dead or alive?
Well, I have my number one is Sarah Blakely. So founder of Spanx.
Yeah.
Do you know her?
No.
Okay. You know of her. That's good. Sarah, I deleted Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn off of my phone, so I don't have it anymore. But before I had those on my phone, my best follow from a Instagram story standpoint, Sarah Blakely. Go follow her.
I'd just be I'd be so nervous firing anything out there,
Yeah. Let's go.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, Dave, there you have it, man. Thanks for being on Scale or Die. If people want to find out, what you're up to, where can they follow you, where can they see you?
D Cancel on Drift and David Cancel everywhere, and just drift.com, drift.com. Holler at me. Next time you see me on this podcast, I'm going to have a slick studio. I'm in here in this dungeon here, and look at Dave on the other side looking proper. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks
Awesome,
for having me on.
Yeah, dude. Thanks so much. And we'll see you here soon.
All right. Take care.